Welcome to the Land, your Bet Sports Betting Show. 3 more NBA playoff games here on Wednesday night. We're going to be going through the Celtics and the Magic. And obviously, the key bit of news here is that Jason Tatum is doubtful and not likely to play in this one after hurting his wrist in Game 1. So we need to go through who does well without Jason Tatum for the Celtics. Do the Magic have a shot in this one and, better chance to keep it close now that Tatum is out? We're going to take a look at all that stuff. Also have an episode up for the Cavs and the Heat already. So make sure to subscribe to that channel. Don't miss any of the episodes we're bringing you throughout the rest of these playoffs. Hoping to get one up for the Dubs and the Rockets on Wednesday morning as well, as it's already like midnight as I'm recording this the night before. Another winning night here on Tuesday, making it 7 of the last 8 nights that we have been in the green. Feeling really good about the way that we're breaking down these playoffs. So going to give you a chance to get into the VIP once more with a little discount for the Yoffs. If that all sounds good, give this video a like. Let's get right into it. Going over Monday's record here. Don't have everything ready to show you for Tuesday, but we did win money on Tuesday. Like I said, on Monday, we went 5-3 plus 1.8 units. We are now up 10 exactly in the playoffs since the play-in tournament as well. And then on the year, up 44.5 units in the NBA, including the regular season. Very happy to be back closer to 45, 50 units than that little tiny bad stretch down at 35. But looking at these bets here from that Monday night, Tobias Harris in the first quarter, we got to keep hitting that at 3.5. That's crazy. He's a 5.5 points per game guy in the first quarter. He takes about 4.5 shots, and he played the whole first quarter in this last game and has been playing at least about 10 minutes per first quarter. So love him in this matchup continuing forward, especially because OG's not guarding him. He's guarding Cade Cunningham. For Cade, knew we were going to have a nice bounce back for him. 30 plus points got us the plus 144. We did lose the threes, as you can see, as the first L that we took there. I don't know if we can keep going back to the threes. I kind of need to recalibrate here for playoff Cade, which I've never seen before, but now he's down to about 4 attempts per game. And my, desire to take him to get 2+ was a lot more based on him taking about 6 per game when he plays the Knicks. And that hasn't been the case in the first 2, but the points are way safer anyway. So we'll keep going back to those. For Brunson on the dimes, I mean, he did everything. I'm still kicking myself for not going back to the threes. I don't think we're going to get over 2.5 or plus money like we had in this last game. We need to wait for him to go under 2.5 again on the threes for us to be able to get it back to plus money. But I love the dimes for him because I knew that they couldn't just let him go one-on-one and kill them. And they did bring a few more doubles. And he actually ran cold with the potential assists, meaning he had a lot of potential assists in that last game, about 16 of them, and still only ended with 7 dimes. You'd expect him to get closer to 8 or 9 in those situations. So happy to keep going over 6.5 if they give it to us again. Maybe over 7.5 if they give us plus money, but it'd have to be pretty good plus money for that. For Jokic, we took the 8+ dimes. Was a little bit worried that maybe he wouldn't dime up as well in the next game because he has a history of not getting assists versus the Clippers, but he did just fine. 8+ dimes, and they ended up losing that game. So we had the nice negative correlation of the Clippers covering their spread as the favorites, and the Jokic 8+ assists, which he ended with, I believe, 10 in that one. But when you get those negative correlated bets, plus 183, right? Negatively correlated, meaning we're betting on Jokic to do well, but we're also betting on his team to lose. So that was a nice look there. And then another plus money hit on Gordon, over 5.5 boards. I love 4.5 boards for him, but if we get anything plus 120 or better for over 5.5, which I doubt that we'll have in this next game because he's now gone over twice. But if we get it at that plus money for him on the boards again, happy to go right back to it. Already mentioned the Cade threes that we missed. Jaylen Brown He had 24 PRA with 8 seconds left and then got a rebound and then went to the free throw line. But I still think that's a good look. The thing to take into consideration is that when Isaiah Stewart is not out there, Durant is likely to get more minutes, but at the same time, he just didn't foul in this game. And I think he's still likely to have foul trouble throughout the rest of this series. So I am looking to continue fading him, and hopefully we can get him at 25, maybe 26.5 PRA in this next one. For Russ, got the hook there, still got the minutes, slightly fewer, but we still project about 29-30, and that's what he played in this game. We did have a little bit better of a game from Michael Porter Jr., so he did get a few more minutes, but at the end of the day, I still think we're going to see a ton of Russ as he's just way better suited to guard certain guys on the Clippers, especially James Harden when he can get out there and guard him. So we'll continue to look for that stuff for Russ for overs, but more importantly, if you do want to jump into the VIP, you know how to do it, and we still have code YOFFS25. Still going to have that code available for probably another couple of days, but 50% off your first 3 months in the VIP, which is where we are doing really good work in there. Really proud of the guys and myself as well, got to be honest. If you do want to jump in, like I said, use that code 50% off. And you'll also have access to not just myself, but access to the VIP cappers who are dropping some really nice MLB bets in there. But let's go ahead and jump into what we've got here for Wednesday night. The game 1 notes that we have to look at here going into game 2. Tatum doubtful after hurting that wrist. So even if he is able to play, which it seems really likely that he's not, I can't really expect much from him after landing on that right wrist. He was a game best plus 23 in the 40 minutes that he played. So I think needless to say, Tatum is going to be missed in this game. But if you look at that bottom note, they're 8-2 without him. However, both of the losses that they had this season without him were to the Orlando Magic. So interesting stuff there. On the third bullet there, Orlando and the 3-point stuff, that's huge, man. Like, you can't be down 18 points on threes. They hit 10. Boston hit 16. That's 18 more points, right? That's just unacceptable, but that's the state of the series, right? It's really what it comes down to is one team is the best 3-point shooting team in the league. The other's damn near the worst and plays too slowly to be able to hang with the Celtics. That is one note, though, to keep in mind is that after this game, head coach Jamal Mosley did say, like, we were going to need to run. We're going to need to go faster against the Celtics team because we don't have the threes to keep up with their threes. We're going to need to find ways to make up for that by getting faster points, transition points, fast break points, which means they need the Celtics to miss some shots and to button up that defense. Since Jayson Tatum is out, thought it would be really helpful to at least just look at some high-level stuff here. Who has done well with versus without Jayson Tatum, right? And if you look at the three we have here, we got KP, Jaylen Brown at the top, and Derrick White. For Jaylen Brown, 7 games. The biggest jump out to me is the RA. That's what I'm looking at more than anything for him. But it's the playoffs, right? So he does go up 2 points, like to 23 or so. He goes up about half a rebound per game and 2 assists per game. In fact, the assists are probably what I like a little bit more than the rebounds if you just wanted to take one thing for JB. But I'm also just really looking at the points for him. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Kristaps, what he goes up in points and boards. And those are the 2 things I'm also going to be looking at for him. You can see he goes to about 23 points per game, up from 18.9. And the rebounds, he goes up to 8.4, up from 6.5 on the season. So going to be looking at both of those for him. I'll tell you which one I like the most here in just a minute. And then Derrick White, he also just mostly the points. In fact, he's not as good when it comes to the rebounds. That is also an angle that I'm going to be looking at in just a minute with you guys, is that he does get about 5 more points per game, but he gets a full rebound fewer per game. A couple of reasons that I can attribute that to. We'll talk about that in one sec. Looking at 2 more guys here for the Celtics, but definitely make sure to give this video a like if you're getting out of any of the stuff that we're putting out here for the NBA playoffs. Really trying to help you break down these things game to game, because we're just going to have a lot of differences. That's what the playoff betting is, right? It's just looking at what happened last game. What can we bank on happening again versus where are there going to be adjustments? That's the key stuff that I'm trying to give you. So a like goes a long way. Much appreciated if these vids are helping you out. But the last 2 guys I at least wanted to touch upon for the Celtics with versus without Jayson Tatum out there. Jrue Holiday, noticeable thing are the boards and the points for him as well. Goes up by about 3 points and 2 boards. And then Pritchard goes up by about 6 points, 5.5 or so. And then also big time up on the boards and the dimes. 10 rebounds and assists per game that he's averaging without Jayson Tatum. Now, granted, we're going to go into props madness here in a minute, and you're going to see why this is helpful, but it's not everything. Because even though, let's say, Pritchard's played 10 games without Tatum, well, some of those games we also were missing KP. Some of them we were also missing Jaylen Brown, right? And so when other guys are missing 2, this is not the most credible data, but it is a very good starting point to just see some of these big changes in the guys who are getting bigger and better stats when Jayson Tatum's out. So we have some work to do to figure out what's going to happen without Jayson Tatum available for the Celtics here on Wednesday night. It's probably going to be Horford. I got the asterisk there because I'm not positive that Horford comes in, but in the game where they played on December 23rd against this team, right, that was a decent indicator of what we can expect in this one, because while Jayson Tatum was out and everybody else was available for the Celtics, then the Magic were missing everybody. So it's a little bit different, but I would still expect with a big team like the Magic to see Al Horford come out there and probably be the primary defender on Paolo Banchero. We saw Jrue Holiday guarding Paolo in the last game, right? But now I don't know if we can just put him right back there. I think he's probably going to guard Franz, and you're going to see Horford on Banchero, because we saw Tatum, right, on Franz in the last game, and now we're a lot more likely to get Jrue back down to Franz, put Horford on Banchero, because Wagner plays a little bit more above the break like a guard, which is where you would want Holiday guarding him. And to be honest, like Paolo kind of handled Jrue. I mean, he's too big is really what it comes down to. He's too big for Jrue, at least at like 36 or 37 years old. For Jrue, now he's too small. When Jrue was like 28, maybe he was still big enough for a guy like Paolo. But the other stuff should remain relatively the same. We'll probably see JB on Curtis Joseph again. Doesn't really need to guard anybody who matters. Not Curtis Joseph, Corey Joseph, not the old goalie, I believe for the Oilers was Cujo. But Holiday on Wagner, White on KCP. We saw that last game, and then Porzingis and Carter Jr. So one thing to look for here, we'll talk about it a little bit more. Porzingis rebounds. Think that we're going to be in a much better position for those in this one. On the other side of the ball, I don't think much changes. We saw KCP on Derrick White and vice versa. We did see Corey Joseph there. He's probably going to be on Jrue Holiday. That was mostly his matchup, but there's a few differences there. Banchero was on Jaylen Brown. We're going to see Paolo on JB once again, and then Wagner probably on Horford. And that was kind of the difference, was like Wagner was on Jason Tatum, and then you saw Corey Joseph also on Holiday. So not too much different here, but the key thing is going to be like, yeah, Banchero on Brown. Do we like that? Because Brown is now going to be way more involved, right? So there's probably going to be a little bit of in-game sort of chess right back and forth between Mazzulla and Jamal Mosley, mostly because things are so different now with one of the 5 best players in the league in Jason Tatum. I don't really want to get into that discussion, although feel free to drop a comment if you disagree. I'm happy to hear what everybody thinks about Jason Tatum. He's a polarizing player. Bottom line is you can't take away how important he is to this team and how much everything changes when he's no longer on the floor. As always, going to be using Props Madness here on the show. Number one sports betting research tool for all things NBA and WNBA player props when we get to the summertime and the ladies hoops. But if you do want to jump into this platform and try it out for yourself, you can get a 7-day free trial using code LYB. That'll also get you 25% off your first month if you do decide to go ahead and get the monthly fee here for this stuff. But all the filters and the different ways you can break down prior games and get down these stats broken down how you need them, this is a one-stop shop, the most efficient way to find this stuff. Kicking it off with Jaylen Brown, though, I kind of hinted that I like the rebounds and assists, and they definitely go up without Jason Tatum. Just looking at these games without him, you can go to games with and without, take Tatum out, and this will show you all the games that Jaylen Brown has played without him. So he goes up to 22.9 points versus, actually it's a little bit, 22.9 points, per game without Jason Tatum versus 22.1 with him. So not a huge jump, right? Like barely, not even a point, really. The assists go up, but to 6.3. This is a big noticeable jump, and the rebounds take a nice little bump as well to 6.4. The assists stand out a ton. I totally agree. But here's really what I'm looking at for JB. Look at one of these games that he's played without Jason Tatum. One of them was against the Magic. 37 minutes, 35 points. And I mean, the thing for JB is, although he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot and is likely to get a few more dimes, and I'm not telling anyone not to take the assists, I just think he's going to go off. I think he's going to be at about 25 points per game in this one. I think we're going to see a lot more Jaylen Brown trying to take over in a playoff game, not a lot of him trying to necessarily facilitate and make sure everybody's getting involved. In the 4 games that he played with Jason Tatum, where he did play at least 30 minutes, let's give him some more minutes here on this one and put him at least 30, right? And we could probably go higher than that, but let's just say 30. One of them he played 30 exactly. That was a 24-point blowout win against the Pistons. So let's just nix that one and say he plays at least 31. Right now we're at 26.8 points, and the difference between these games and the ones that he was not playing, scoring as much and playing as much, was the blowouts. Right, this is a 10-point game versus a 20-point blowout. 4-point game, 10-point game, 6-point game. So all these games are close. Even this Jazz game was close, and that forced Jaylen Brown to have to score more. And I think this one's going to be a lot closer than the 16, 17-point drubbing that they just handed to this team. This one should be a lot more of a closer basketball game. If you're the Magic, you have to smell blood in the water with Tatum not out there. I don't know that they're necessarily going to be able to pull it off or cover, but I do think they're going to keep it close enough that guys like Jaylen Brown are going to be forced to score. Can't just sort of sit back and be happy to facilitate, not try as hard as he might otherwise. Like, this is the playoffs. It's his time to keep this team going. I'm going to bank on the points on this one, but I will say you also have a nice edge on the dimes. Just going right down the line with Kristaps, you can see these are some nice stats here. The way I've filtered it, it's with Jaylen Brown and without Jason Tatum. I want to make sure I still get that in there. Points still look good at 23. Assists, not much of a difference. Rebounds is kind of what I noticed the most, right? And he goes up to about 7.3 boards. He's over 6.5 in most of these. You can still get a decent number on 6.5, but the key here for Kristaps is not only is he better in the games that he's played without Tatum when it comes to the boards, he's also better in general when Tatum's not on court with him. And we've talked about this through the lens of Tatum, where when he plays with Kristaps, I actually like him to get more rebounds versus when he doesn't play with Kristaps. For Kristaps, it's the opposite. I actually like him to get more rebounds when Tatum is out. I don't like him to get boards with Tatum playing with him. That goes for games that Tatum's available. It also just goes for on-court, off-court stuff. And I'm telling you, with Jason Tatum off-court and with playing with all the other starters that he's going to be playing with tonight, Kristaps is at 9.2 boards per 36 minutes. He played in this last one, he played 26 minutes, right? He had 6 boards on 13 rebound chances with Jason Tatum. Now Tatum's out. he's in a much better position to need to get these rebounds against Wendell Carter Jr. And the Magic haven't been that good, limiting assists, rebounds to centers over the course of basically the last month since Wendell Carter Jr. has been the primary guy out there for them and not Goga Bitadze. So I do like him to get the 7 rebounds here at minus 130. I would still take this at minus 140. And I do think we sprinkle a little bit on some alt lines and ladder him up a little bit to needing to get 8+ rebounds, even 9+ rebounds. And if you're feeling frisky, maybe a little double-double for Kristaps. Still have looks for a number of these Celtics guys that I want to bring to your attention here. Getting to Derrick White. The thing for D. White, as we see him without Jason Tatum, it really comes down to Derrick White. I like the points. I don't like anything else. So we have 16.5 points here. When he's played without Tatum, he's at about 20.8 points per game. He kind of climbs over too. There's that one game where he had 41 against the Blazers, right? That was actually a game that Jaylen Brown went under because White and Pritchard had 40+ points. So this is one of those games that Brown actually went under and other guys were going over on the points. But for D. White, yeah, the points look good, but I actually prefer a fade of the rebounds. And I hinted towards this in one of the opening slides there where we showed you that Derrick White doesn't get very many rebounds when he's playing without him. He gets way more points, right? About 5 more points per game without Tatum, but he goes down on the boards. 3.5. He's under in 6 of the 8 games that he's played without Tatum. And if you do this on off court as well, if you take Derrick White, put him on court with the starters, but you take Jason Tatum out, he goes down to about 3.8 rebounds per 36 minutes. Even if you give him about 40 minutes in this game, I still think he's at about 4 boards. If this goes up to 5.5, because you see this kind of spilling over maybe because of the low odds that you have to the over, indicates this might get to 5.5 by Wednesday morning. This is an easy under on 5.5. So those of you who don't believe in me, go ahead and bet the over for Derrick White so I can get a better number on the under. Much appreciated. Also got a quick look for Jrue Holiday without Jason Tatum. I told you he goes up by 3 points. He also goes up by about 2 boards per game. So I think something around PR is probably a good look for Jrue Holiday. You can see in the 6 games that he's played without Jason Tatum, he's at 19 PR per game. He's over in all 6. Let's also make sure that we give him the game with Jaylen Brown as well. So that brings it down to 5 games, right? Because JB did miss one of them, but not that many, right? And if you look at the matchup here on December 23rd versus the Magic, this is a really good indicator. It's not a really good, it's a decent indicator, I should say, of what might happen in this game, because most of the starters were missing for the Magic in that game as well, but the starters were at least available for the Celtics without Tatum, and it was against the Magic. Take it with a grain of salt, like I said, because Paolo, Franz, none of them are playing in that game on December 23rd, but it at least helps you feel comfortable that we've seen Jrue Holiday do this against the Magic without Tatum before. I think PR is probably the best play for Jrue in this one. And then it's not a Celtics episode if we don't at least talk about Pusha P, also known as Peyton Pritchard to some of y'all. To me, he's Pusha P. But for Pusha here, I mean, it's the ancillary stuff. It's the rebounds. It's the assists. Those are the things that I like the most for him. And so 7.5 RA is plus 105 on DraftKings. He's averaging 9.9 per game without him. He's averaging 9.9 per 36 minutes. Actually better. He's averaging about 10.5 RA per 36 minutes in all of the minutes that he's played this season without Jason Tatum, when he's playing with Brown, Kristaps, White, and Holiday, but no Tatum. We're talking about 10 RA per 36 minutes, all of those minutes that I'm saying this season. So for Pritchard, in a game against the Magic might seem like this is silly. This team is obviously incredible at limiting rebounds and assists, but just look at this game where he played 21 minutes in their 4-point loss on December 23rd. He had 8 rebound chances. And that's the crazy thing. If you look at the rebound chances for Peyton Pritchard, he goes up to 9. This little tiny gym rat looking dude goes up to 9 rebound chances per game in these games without Jason Tatum and playing with Jaylen Brown as well. That's up 2 rebound chances per game from his average. So that should be at least 1 rebound per game. It's actually like 1.5 rebounds per game. And then on the assists as well, his potential assists go from 6.5 to 8 per game without Jason Tatum. So I really think he's going to land on like 8 or 9 rebounds and assists. At plus money, this is an awesome bet here. There's still the possibility that the Celtics do, not necessarily blow the doors out, but comfortably win this game at home, even without Tatum against the Magic. So in that event, that's another little an opportunity that Pritchard would get a few more minutes and even more likely to get us our stats. Looking at the Magic, don't have nearly as much for them. It's always helpful when we have a guy like Tatum out, and then we can look at Celtics props and see who does a little bit better and worse without Tatum. But with on the other side of the ball here, like if the Magic are going to make a run at this, Paolo's going to have to do Paolo stuff. And if you look back at the shots that he took in this last game, I mean, 27 of them, hit an awesome percentage from three. I'm not expecting him to hit 57% of his threes consistently, but 52% of his field goals is pretty reasonable when going 14 for 27. And 27 shots came because they're not doubling it, and they're just leaving Jrue Holiday on him for most of the game. Jrue Holiday was the primary defender on Paolo. We talked about that at the beginning. As a result, right, you see Paolo definitely have an advantage. Like Jrue's a great defender, but one, he's getting on in age, and two, he's given up a solid, right, like 5-6 inches to Paolo in the height column, a bunch of weight as well. So like Paolo was able to get him down low and really take most of the shots that he wanted, right? He did go, like I said, 4 for 7 from 3 in this one, but it's a one-on-one matchup. And this is kind of why, if you're a primary ball handler, you can see right here, they're 25th are the Celtics against primary, the pick and roll ball handler, which is often considered the primary ball handler on the team, which is what I would consider Paolo Banchero, the guy with the most touches and the ball in his hands for most of the game. So the reason that pick and roll ball handlers do well against the Celtics is they don't double them, right? They let them go one-on-one, and they're in a position where their defender's a little bit off balance, and that allows them to get some more points going to the rim. And that's why Paolo was able to be so aggressive driving, even when Kristaps was out there, is that he had such a big height and weight advantage on Jrue Holiday. And then as far as this game goes, like I'm just going to take him for 30 plus. I'm not going to mess with 30, 25, 26 necessarily. I'm just going straight to 30. I mean, if you want to take the 25.5, that's great, but the thing that's making me go towards this is if you look at him, let's filter these games basically since the make sure he has the minutes that he's going to play in this one. So like, let's make sure he's playing 35 because he got ramped up pretty slowly when he came back from injury. So there's going to be a lot of games in there that he was playing a lot less than 35 minutes. Let's get this to since the All-Star break. February 20th was the first game since the All-Star break. 31.6 points per game since that time frame when he sees 35 plus minutes, over in 12 of 17 games since the break with 35 plus minutes. Ain't no way he's playing less than 35 unless they're down or up by 30 points going into the fourth quarter, right? So we can bank on Paolo, one-on-one matchup, good defense, better offensive player going one-on-one. We love him for the 30 plus. All right, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Don't miss out on that Cleveland-Miami game, and most likely a Rockets and Dubs episode for you guys as well. But if you are in the VIP, you're not going to miss any of that stuff regardless. So hope to see you guys in there using code YOFS25. That'll get you 50% off the first 3 months, not just the first 3 months in the VIP, where we are racking up the winners right now in the playoffs. So looking to keep it going. And until I see y'all next, happy betting.